What's up, everyone? I'm Thomas with ForReel,
I'm Derek with NerdBot,
and
and
this
this
is
is
Snubbed.
Snubbed.
This is where Derek and I go back and fix the Oscars. Obviously, we can't fix everything with the Oscars, but we're gonna do our damnedest to correct some what we might perceive as the true winners of awards over the years. And this is a really cool concept. And Derek, maybe you could talk a little bit more about where this concept started and how we are doing it now.
Yeah, so this is a concept that I've had for a really long time. I think a discussion that we don't talk about enough are Oscars that have already happened. I think a lot of our colleagues, especially just in film and film criticism, we get wrapped up in the current award season. But there are so many times where you just kind of look back and ponder like, why did that win again? What was going on there? What was the show like? We talk about it all year about what's happening currently, but we so rarely go back and try to like refix, just basically fix what some of those mistakes. And I know we talk about them in the current talk, but so this is a concept that I had done with a previous show. And it's something that I've just always wanted to do because every time I look back at past years, there's always something. There's always a category where I'm like, yeah, that's wrong. That's not that's not the right choice, and we need to fix this.
Yes, let's jump into our topic today. Okay. So after looking over a couple years and kind of figuring a couple select years and kind of figuring out what we wanted to do for this inaugural episode, Derek and I decided that we are going to hone in on the 91st Academy Awards, which was just a couple years ago. But like I said, this the category that we're doing is going to be Best Picture, and as I said, it's a doozy. I remember watching this award show, and when Best Picture was announced, I was just like, really? Um, that one?
And the Oscar goes to Green Book.
Yeah.
And just to give my own experience with the movie Green Book, I went to a Regal Theater to see it, my local Regal Theater in Bellingham, and it was empty pretty much. So it was like two people in it. I think it was the week of release, but I went in. It was a later showing, like I don't know, 8:30, 9 o'clock showing or something like that, and I'm like halfway through it. I'm just like, I can't sit through this anymore. I actually walked out of Green Book.
Did you really?
I did. I walked out of Green Book.
Wow.
It
Wow.
a combination of it was a long day. It's not a movie holding my interest. It's getting late. I would rather just finish this later. And so that was my experience with Green Book. So when they announce it as the winner of Best Picture, I'm like, to who?
Oh goodness.
What do you remember when you saw Green Book?
I do, and I had very similar. I had a very similar reaction. I didn't walk out. But I remember seeing it almost as an assignment of like, because at that time I wasn't as heavily invested in kind of following the award season. I always watched the Academy. The Academy Awards have been something that's just been a staple of my family forever. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I remember watching it, with my mom, and it's just always been something I've been into, even if I haven't seen all of the films. So, a lot of times now I tend to play catch up or I stay ahead and catch these films, early or get packages or whatever. But this one was like one of those ones where I was like, oh, really? That's a nomination, huh? Okay, I guess I'll see it. And I always like to refer to this as the Green Book year, because the 91st Academy Awards and this year in particular is kind of like the catalyst for Snubbed, where I think most people can largely agree that honestly, a lot of these above the line categories, a lot of them are wrong. And I think it kind of set off this whole like, okay, well, if you're gonna open it up for 10 nominees, then you need to have 10 nominees. If you're gonna if you're going to have all this diverse stuff, then you need to actually watch these movies and you need to. I get it. The awards are all about campaigns and they don't really have a lot to do with the validity of the film itself. But Green Book is just like, every criticism that people have about the Academy Awards and the awards movie and the movie that's made for your dad or the white savior trope or all the things that stain the Academy Awards across the board and have for, I think the last 5 or 6 years is all they've been trying to do is correct the mistake of the 91st Academy Awards, just overall from programming to selection. So, my relationship with this particular category and this particular year is very tumultuous, and it's definitely one of those things where I look back, and if I could pinpoint a year that really made me say, hey, we need to do something like Snubbed and go back and fix this. This year is that year. This is the defining year of that. So
it really is. I mean, on top of the fact that Green Book won Best Picture, I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Bohemian Rhapsody was the winningest movie of this show, which
yes,
again is like, really? Now look, I don't get me wrong. I'm a Rami Malek fan. I turn up for any project that he's in, which is great. And I was decently entertained by Bohemian Rhapsody, but I go back and I think was that the movie that should have won the most awards at this show? So I think this is what's really fun about doing this, is looking back and and we have a number of years of context and conversation to now bolster our opinion about this award show. So
and I think too, particularly with so if you look at the Best Actor category, right? For Best Actor for that year, you had Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, Christian Bale for Vice, Bradley Cooper for A Star Is Born, Willem Dafoe at Eternity's Gate, which I just have to say, I always love people like Viggo Mortensen does this too, but both Willem Dafoe and Viggo Mortensen always get nominated for movies nobody knew existed. Like it is so, but like Willem Dafoe has done this like 7 years in a row, where like he did it with the Florida Project. Like nobody has seen it at Eternity's Gate. Nobody has seen it. But he shows up and he's acting. I love it. It's so funny. And then Viggo Mortensen for Green Book, which is probably his worst nomination in my opinion. But so I look at that category, and then obviously Rami Malek won. I don't like Rami Malek. I don't find his weird, quirky energy all that fun or intriguing to me. He's just not a performer I particularly care for. But in particularly with Bohemian Rhapsody, it kind of commits that same Green Book mistake, where it's like, okay, if you do a musical biopic and just lip sync and pretend to be somebody else, we're going to give you an award for that. And and Bohemian Rhapsody is, you can telegraph that. This is why Dewey Cox Walk Hard. This is why that film exists. It follows all of those beats. There's nothing original about this. There's nothing particularly unique about his performance, in my opinion. Just being Freddie Mercury is just kind of like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know. To me, that just doesn't do it for me. And so again, going to this year, lining that up with Green Book, and then Rami Malek for Bohemian Rhapsody, and then Bohemian Rhapsody being the most nominated film for that year, you're just like, what is going on in film right now?
That's funny. To give a little more context on at least the Best Picture category, the other nominees after Green Book were Black Panther, Black Klansman, of course, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Roma, A Star Is Born, and Vice, which is so interesting because at least 2 of these movies might have their directors coming back for Best Picture nominations. Yorgos Lanthimos obviously has Poor Things getting a lot of great reception, including from me. I did have a chance to see Poor Things.
Oh, good.
And
nice. Good
it is every bit as incredible as people are saying. So I expect to be doing a Real Buzz episode on that closer to the release. And then A Star Is Born, Bradley Cooper's directorial debut. He is now back this year with Maestro, and that is garnering a bunch of buzz, of course, with Netflix. And I don't know if it'll get a Best Picture nomination, but it's certainly contending for that, and it's a part of the conversation at this point. So, so yeah, it's kind of fun to see this year, and filmmakers come back around to the awards, and be able to talk about that.
And this is a great year to pick as it correlates to this current year when you talk about stuff like that, right? Like Yorgos Lanthimos, I don't think people really knew what. Yeah, The Favorite is one of those movies where, like, if you've seen it, you can't believe it missed everything. But it was a hard movie to sell. Yorgos Lanthimos was not who he is now, where it's like, okay, like The Favorite really put him on the map. Same thing with A Star Is Born. Like Bradley Cooper was just a very good actor that people really liked, you know. And then if you didn't, you just loved his voice work for Rocket Raccoon, like, you know what I mean. And so him kind of coming on and being like, no, I'm a director as well, and I can direct very, very well, like good enough to be nominated across the board for this movie. So now when you look at what they're doing here, and everybody is like, yeah, maybe we were too harsh on them last time. We should definitely give them the credit they deserve, because they're very capable of making great films. And I say that without having seen Poor Things or Maestro, but I'm very excited about both because of their previous work with something like The Favorite, A Star Is Born, which I don't really even care for, but I know it's a very, very well-made movie. So yeah, this is such an interesting year to talk about, in comparison to the current year too.
Another story, Yorgos Lanthimos. Let me tell you how I got introduced to Yorgos. I went to see The Favorite at the Vancouver International Film Festival. I'd never seen a Yorgos Lanthimos film before. Of course, he did Killing of a Sacred Deer and The Lobster. But yeah, everyone was saying that I need to see this because this is an up-and-coming director, and, like, you know, it's going to be really good. And it was a long day again. It was at a festival, and so I had seen 3 movies that day already. And it was the last movie of the day again, another later showing, like 9 o'clock. And man, that movie would just drug on and on. And how many acts did it have? Because when it started doing things in chapters, I'm like, okay, so 3 chapters. No, okay, 5. Is that the next interval? Okay, no, 7. Like, what is this movie? It was a very strong introduction, I guess, but it was also very exhausting for me. And so I didn't have the best experience with The Favorites. And I don't think, looking back now, I don't think that was Yorgos's fault. You know, he makes movies the way that he does, and I just wasn't in a place to take that in. I did appreciate components of it. But let me tell you, and anyone who's seen Poor Things is it might raise an eyebrow to this, but his use of wide angle lenses just baffles me. It was so odd in The Favorite for me to watch these, like, GoPro looking shots in this Victorian setting. I'm like, what? I mean, if you have a low budget, I guess, but like, what is this? I don't like that.
It is clearly an aesthetic choice.
It is an aesthetic choice, and I figured that out. I couldn't figure out why, but it's there. And anyone who's seen Poor Things knows he takes that and just you know, it exponentiates how often he uses it in Poor Things. And I still scratch my head, like, why did you just have this lens on your shelf and you just always want to use it? Like, is this your little toy that you just enjoy playing with? But I think having seen Poor Things now, it's helped. I mean, I've also seen Killing of a Sacred Deer and The Lobster, so I'm more acclimated to his style, which I think helped me like Poor Things a lot, even with the fact that it's just a really, really well-made movie. I had to brace myself for the wide angle lens. Like, is he going to do it? Oh, there it is. And again, and again, and again. Lots of wide angle lenses. The fisheye thing going on.
That's really funny, because I saw The Favorite, and I too hadn't seen The Lobster or Killing of a Sacred Deer prior to seeing The Favorite. So The Favorite is also my Yorgos Lanthimos introduction. And I had a friend, and actually the person that I used to do this show with originally, the one that we had done the concept with, he was the one that was like, dude, how have you not seen The Favorite? Like, you have to see The Favorite. You have to see The Favorite. And I was like, yeah, whatever. And it just blew him off. I just had no intention of seeing this movie. But I was on a very long trip, and they happened to have The Favorite. And this is a year after. Oh, yeah, it's almost exactly a year after the awards had already happened. And so I was like, oh, you know what? I'm literally on a plane for an indefinite amount of time. So I'll just watch it. I friggin' loved it. Like, I absolutely adored this movie. I loved the weirdness and just the just the paired with just kind of that darkness. I loved what Emma Stone was doing. It was kind of one of those first times where I've always enjoyed Emma Stone, but watching her in The Favorite, I was like, oh, this is what people talk about when when they talk about Emma Stone. This is what they mean. And her going toe to toe with Rachel Weisz, her going toe to toe with Olivia Colman, who are all just like on the top of their game in this movie. And I absolutely adored it. So that obviously got me super excited and I still, I haven't seen Poor Things yet, but it's high on my list because of, The Favorite. And now going back and looking at this year, the fact that it missed so much, I was just like, no, you got it wrong, guys.
Oh,
you got it wrong. This was the movie.
It's a very fascinating thing because The Favorite had the most nominations that year. So like there was an awareness that this director is obviously up and coming. He's making great films, and this is something that can perhaps appeal to the mainstream, even if in an odd and quirky way. And I would love to interview Yorgos and ask him about what happened with his career after The Favorite, and like what gears started turning, because it makes, when you watch his filmography, it makes so much sense that The Favorite is this turning point that launches him into Poor Things. And Poor Things, when people see Poor Things, like it is a movie that embodies all of Yorgos's quirkiness, but in a way that can appeal to mainstream audiences. And I'm so excited to get the the general audience's reactions, and to maybe see this one also get another 10 nominations. I mean, that would be incredible for this to be more just as recognized as The Favorite, and hopefully win more this time.
I'm going to give you a pop quiz because I think this is very fun. Who directed Green Book, Thomas?
I don't know. Was that Vigo? I don't know who directed. Did he? I don't know.
Here's the thing. I don't know either, and that should tell you. That should tell you this conversation, as we've been talking about what they got wrong in this year, has been about the directors that missed and the films that missed, and not the one that won. And neither one of us can tell you who directed the movie that won, because it's not good and they got it wrong.
I really should know that.
Not even gonna lie. As I'm looking at the Best Picture nominee list, because we have it up, I can name, just without even looking at who was nominated for Best Director, just looking at the list, I can name every single director from every single one of these Best Picture nominees off the top. Like, no questions. Like, if you just hit me with a pop quiz, be like, close all your tabs and just tell me who directed these movies immediately. Yeah. Once we get to Green Book, that's where I lose. I lose all my money because I have no idea. No clue.
That was a good pop quiz. I liked that one. And you're very right. For the record, since I have my tabs pulled up, it was Peter Farrelly. And Farrelly, is that how you pronounce his name? I don't know.
I think it's Farrelly. Yeah.
And now we have to struggle over what his name's even pronounced. Don't cancel us, guys. We know what we're talking about. We promise. It's just Green Book was so uninteresting.
And just comparatively, I mean, when you look at these, you got Black Klansman with Spike Lee. You've got Black Panther, which is a great film to talk about, because this is not only is this an explosion for Ryan Coogler to demonstrate his ability to not just direct and really kind of create a cultural moment, but be able to transfer his small scale projects prior into this large scale superhero film that works so well. And look, there's a lot of criticism for Black Panther, and I completely get that. No film is perfect by any means, but Black Panther is this kind of defining cultural moment, very similarly to the way that like Everything Everywhere All at Once is a cultural defining moment, where you have just this lightning bolt of unexpected just awards carnage with this movie that just plows forward. And Black Panther really is that, and so you have that, and then you've got Yorgos, and then you've got, Alexander Cuarón, who, okay, give or take, I'm very mixed on his work. But then you have Bradley Cooper, and then you've got Adam McKay. Like, you've got these people that are just all here, that how they've missed all of these categories, I just don't know. I mean, shoot. Yeah, you want to talk about the director for a second. The fact that this is not what you gave Spike Lee his Oscar nominees, his actual award for, like, we could do this episode again, pick that category and fix that, because that needs to be done. But yeah, it's just such a wide, it's again, this is kind of going back to why I think Green Book is just such a wrong pick, because when you look at all of those films, from your superhero to your historian epic, or whatever, to your foreign language film, to a beautiful remake, you have this huge diverse category of films, and you go with the absolute safest, inane, like, forgettable one of all of them. Like, that blows my mind that they got this so wrong here.
It's wild. You mentioned Black Panther. I was, just a really quick side story. I'm telling a lot of stories here. Just a couple weeks ago, the company that I work for with my day job, we sponsored Boys and Girls Club, and so the Boys and Girls Club of Skagit County up here actually had the costume designer for Black Panther, Ruthie Carter, as the guest speaker, who won the Oscar for that. And so it was really cool that I had a chance to talk with her for a few minutes after the gala that we were sponsoring. And it was nice to talk to her and to hear her talk and give her history with Spike Lee, and her history as a costume designer, and it was a very inspirational speech. So really, just shout out to Ruth Carter. Thanks for coming up to our little corner of the world and giving your story. But
I went to the Mopop Museum in Seattle, and they had a Ruth Carter display of
cool
costumes, and it was the work that woman has done over the years is just, my God, like, she's absolutely incredible.
For sure. It's really, it's great. And I'm so excited to see what else she works on, and continue following her career.
Yeah.
So we're going to get back to talking about these nominees. But before we do, I want to jump into the other films that came out that missed nominations during this Oscars. You were diligent enough to compile a list, and so I just wanted to kind of go through and look at some of these, because in this conversation of things that didn't win, it's also interesting to see things that didn't even get nominated. I think this was a year where there was a lot more conversation about why horror films get so overlooked, because I'm looking at this list and things like Hereditary came out that year, Suspiria, A Quiet Place, The House That Built Jack was an interesting one.
Yes, it was. I wanted to put that one on there just because I was like, oh, let's see.
But even something like Sorry to Bother You, very genre bending kind of movie. I didn't like it, but I could see why people did like it, and like the absurdity that came with that movie.
And that's also, that's another example of a first-time director being able to take super bold swings. Obviously you've got the stain of Armie Hammer, in that one, but you've got this brilliant rise of Lakeith Stanfield, really, putting his name on there. You get another wonderful look at Tessa Thompson, who was also in Little Woods. If you have not seen Little Woods, and please see this movie. Like, she is just, that woman can do no wrong in my eyes. She is so freaking good. But yeah, so those, I really like Sorry to Bother You. But you've got big players. Actually, here, well, let's take a look at as we kind of look through this list. I'm going to recap the top 10 highest grossing films of that year. So number 1 was Black Panther.
Yes.
Number 2 was Avengers: Infinity War, which is just absolutely insane. I can't even believe Black Panther did more than that. Like, that's crazy to me. Number 3 was Incredibles 2. Number 4, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Another movie that doesn't need to be talked about or made in the first place. Number 5 is Deadpool 2. Number 6 is The Grinch, which I believe that's the animated version. Yeah, it is. Number 7 is Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. Really surprised hit. I actually really liked that one. Number 8 is Mission Impossible Fallout. Number 9 is Ant-Man and the Wasp. And number 10 is Solo, a Star Wars story.
I have a story about Solo too. I'm gonna save that one for another. I never can pronounce his last name right. Aldrin Enric.
Alden Ehrenreich?
Ehrenreich. I honestly
I think it's Ehrenreich.
Okay, cool. So
yeah, I never do it. I never pronounce it either.
What's fascinating about this, again, with things coming full circle, so we're talking about the year that Solo came out, and now we're in the year where he is in 2 highly acclaimed movies this year, Oppenheimer and Fair Play.
And acclaimed for his performance.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm pretty confident Fair Play will get in for screenplay.
I hope so. I really do.
I'm pretty confident it will. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be great. Netflix would
definitely. That is a huge to go from being like the most hated person in the world for something that's not your fault in a movie that's not good, to being in two of the best movies that came out this year. 5 years later, like that's pretty strong. That's pretty strong.
So he capitalized on that. Look, if we, I guess if we got anything good out of it, it's that you got a really great Aldrin Ehrenreich career following Solo. So yeah, and it's interesting because everything that you're naming for those top 10 movies, they're all real like franchise. I guess the Grinch is a remake, Deadpool 2 is a sequel. Yeah, all franchise stuff.
A lot of franchise, and there's a lot of franchises on this list too. Yeah. I mean, if you go down, it's like, you got Ocean's 8. There's what else is there here? I thought there were more. I think I named most of them, but yeah. Mission
but again, another interesting thing. Mission Impossible Fallout came out that year, and now we have another Mission Impossible movie that, it was really good. I just don't know if it's going to make it to the Oscars for the technical awards because
it should, but it won't.
It was so overshadowed by Oppenheimer.
Yeah, no, it really was. And again, this is one of those years that it's such a hotly contested year, and people have learned. I feel like in the technical categories, kind of talking about this year, obviously we won't highlight that here for the 91st, but I think people have really started to learn, particularly, somebody like Nolan and even Barbie in to a certain extent, like people have started to understand how to utilize technology and technical prowess to be able to create incredible things without having to shoot Tom Cruise off a cliff in order to make. I mean, people are able to understand how to design sets and build production design and really create these worlds where a lot of these action films tend to dominate in these technical categories. But you've got something with like Oppenheimer, which is a great example, which is mostly dudes standing around in a room talking, and yet it's still one of the most technically effective and technically efficient films made this year. Like it's absolutely incredible, and it's going to do amazing in all of the technical categories. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting thing. There's some movies I do kind of want to highlight on here just real quick. I want to highlight A Simple Favor.
Yes,
I loved that movie. Absolutely loved that movie. I'm not a big Blake Lively fan as far as like just her performance wise. I love her, but Blake Lively as a performer, I can take her or leave her. Even in The Town, which I love, I'm just kind of like, they're fine. She's so good here, and her with Anna Kendrick, who's just my whole heart. But yeah, so that's a really great one. I know we talked about Sorry to Bother You, but that's one that I just really love. 8th Grade, which is one of those ones where I think in any other year when people start to, like a year like this year or even last year, people start to recognize first-time directors taking on really interesting projects. I think 8th Grade probably could have done much better, be it screenplay, director, those types of things. But 8th Grade is it's just such a beautiful, sweet movie. I really, really like it. Cannot believe it's directed by Bo Burnham. Like that just every time I put those together, I'm just like, how is this even possible?
It is so fascinating. Very short story. I saw 8th Grade. I saw 8th Grade.
He saw 8th Grade late at night on a work day. He was tired. I know how the stories go, Thomas. I got it.
No, actually, I'm going to break that trend. I saw this one at the Seattle Film Festival. This was when the film festival was happening, and they actually had Bo Burnham, and I'm spacing the actress's name.
Oh yeah, I couldn't tell you, but I
Yeah.
know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, so they had them on stage, and I kind of had the same moment that you did. Like, this guy's a comedian making this drama about a teenage girl. Like, there's nothing about Bo Burnham that says this is a story that he would naturally direct. But
Right.
I think that on top of it being a solid film by a a first-time director, just knowing who that first-time director is and how kind of how different this movie is from who we know, this
Yes.
director as. I
Yeah.
think that really enhanced how much I appreciated the film. And yeah, so I guess seeing them do a Q&A at the Seattle Film Festival, it was just kind of this moment of like, wow, yeah, he
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah,
That
no,
was
it's pretty crazy. And then the last kind of criminally underrated movie I want to highlight is Upgrade.
Bro.
Upgrade is my friend and I saw it just on a whim. Like, it was just one of those things where we were like, we've seen all the big ones. We kind of want to go to the movies. This one has a good score. Whatever, let's just go see it. And both of us were like, how are people not talking about this movie?
That movie was
budget Tom Hardy,
Mhm.
absolutely killing it. Just absolutely killing it. Yeah, Upgrade is so good. If you haven't seen it, like, just go in completely blind. Like, that movie is so good.
And I do
so
think it was movies like Upgrade that had people really questioning more about like the Oscars and what we're rewarding at the Oscars, because Upgrade should be an award-winning film. Like, it should, for screenplay maybe, or visual effects, or there's some below the line category it should have been nominated for. And movies like that, no matter how clever they are, because it has this wild twist. And I'll just say that if you need a little more incentive to go see Upgrade, there is a wild twist at the end of that one.
That you won't see coming. You really won't. And I'm usually really good at it. And when it happened, I was like, wait, what? Like,
so good, right? But the Oscars, and this is what we're trying to correct, they really don't do a great job at rewarding films that deserve to be rewarded. There's kind of a status quo and a prestige and kind of an atmosphere that a movie is supposed to have in order to be an Academy Award nominee. And I think that is so unfortunate, because we have horror films that should be nominated. We have sci-fi films that should be nominated. We have comedies that should be nominated. I think that's a really interesting topic to have here, because this is also the year that Black Panther was nominated for Best Picture, which is finally the first time that a superhero movie gets nominated for Best Picture. And so I guess there's a little breakthrough there, but like, and I'm happy that Black Panther was the one to do it. But this is 91 award shows, people. 91 award shows, and we still are ignoring a lot of great movies.
And this, again, this year, kind of going back to this year, and we're going to fix this category right now. But this is really the year where I think that was the most egregious. I think people really started to recognize, like, yeah, we don't want awards films. Like, we want to see our films represented. And I think there was even more ire, because it's like, you have Black Panther, which was the highest grossing film of the year, which has a incredible director who is more than capable and more than deserving of earning awards. Coogler is an incredible talent. You have this incredible, diverse kind of Black cultural moment that happens that you'll never be able to recreate again, no matter what, right? Like, you have the opportunity to truly reward movies that don't just, because it's not just that Black Panther means so much to the general public. Like, awards and general public are very rarely aligned. Like, it doesn't happen very often. But here, that gap is just so wide, because it's like, this is your time you want to get eyes on the Oscars. This is your opportunity to not just nominate it, but give it the credit it deserves. Like, especially when you line it up with these other movies. And if you're not going to do that, then give it to BlacKkKlansman. Like, reward Spike Lee finally for all of the incredible work that he's been doing, behind the camera, the stories he's been telling. Like, BlacKkKlansman is a great story that he tells very well, and it's got these two terrific performances, and it's so well crafted, and it's funny, and like, you had all of these opportunities, and to your point, everything in this category is not even just this category.
Mhm.
Everything above the line is no. These are our awards movies. These are the awards movies we want to recognize. We don't care that nobody saw them. We don't care that nobody actually likes them. These are the movies we're going to nominate because we're the awards, and this is what happens. And I think that backlash, especially again, you pit Green Book against something like Black Panther and Black Klansman, and Green Book is just wrought with this white savior trope. And then you've got these two incredibly culturally relevant films that exist right behind it, and you make the worst choice, the absolute worst choice in that moment to not just nominate but let it win. I think this is when the chickens came under it. This was the reclamation for the awards, this year in particular. And then I think, as you've seen, that's where you get your Everything Everywhere at Once. That's where you get Jordan Peele and Get Out, and you start to kind of recognize okay, maybe we do need to start allowing them not just in the club but actually take on nominations and awards, and maybe move away from this white savior thing.
Yeah. So let's jump into to wrap it up. Let's go ahead and name what we would have given the award to. And I'm gonna start here because I have another story. This one gets back on script. The movie I would have given the award to is going to be controversial for you, but it would have been Roma. I was happy to see Alfonso Cuarón win for director, and that was good, and I guess I could at least walk away from the night with that. But I would have given it to Roma. So when I saw Roma, it was 1 a.m. and there was I was connected with some people at our local theater, and they just had a little private screening with employees that they invited me to. And so it's 1 a.m. and black and white movie on a work night. I should have been super tired, but I think the fact that it held my attention for so long, and honestly, the thing that really sold me on this movie is that dolly shot out into the ocean towards the end.
Oh, yeah.
That shot. Yeah. I mean, I'm already a big fan of one takes and extended takes, but just the power that exists in that shot. It's not even a whole lot is going on, but it was just so masterfully created. And then the artistry of the black and white cinematography, and I was so engrossed with that movie that I was able to somehow stay up until 3 a.m. or whatever it was on a work night to see it. And that really stuck in my mind. I watched it a couple times after that too. Again, just to reaffirm my appreciation for it. And so that would be the one that I would have given it to, especially with Alfonso winning Best Director.
Okay. Look, it doesn't matter what we pick. It's all better than Green Book. So
this is true. This is true.
even if I don't agree, I like Roma. I think Roma is one of those films that I actually have on my list to go back and rewatch, because I don't have a story, but I did watch it at a time where I don't think I had the right amount of appreciation for what was actually being done. And I just wasn't in the right headspace to start really looking at kind of you're talking about cinematography and just gorgeous shots, composition, and just kind of directorial mindset and just how the film is really put together. I wasn't really invested in it in that way, and I think I could probably give it more credit were I to actually go back and watch it with that type of eye. So I'm going to be honest. I'm really struggling here to figure out which one I want to give it to. So I have my 3 nominees. So my 3 nominees for Best Picture would certainly be Black Panther, Black Klansman, or The Favorite. Mm-hmm. Those to me are probably the 3 best films of the year. They're certainly the most deserving of the Best Picture. And now where I wrestle is, do I want to just give in to the general public and just say, no, this is the film that the general public nominated, this is what they wanted, or do I have to consider how awards actually work, and then find some nice little middle ground between the two? So, and I think about rewatchability. I think about how many of these movies, and that's always been kind of the plague of the Oscars. That's why we go back and try to fix them on the show, because most of the time, the film that wins, nobody watches ever again. Like, I mean, yes, we could talk about Green Book, but like, how many times have you gone back to watch The King's Speech or The Artist? Like, never. Nobody sits down and just like, I want to watch The Artist on a Sunday afternoon. Like,
that's actually really funny, because The Artist is certainly one that I've been like, man, I need to rewatch that movie, and just never get around to it.
Yeah,
it's nowhere on my agenda in the next, like nowhere on my agenda in the next like 10 years do I expect to rewatch The Artist. But I enjoyed it. It was good. Like, I thought it was really,
it's fine, but there's a lack of longevity when it comes to some of these films that actually win, which is why it's so important for to give it to films that people actually want to engage with films that people actually want to watch, and keep coming back to. So with that in mind, I would probably, you guys are like watching me do my nomination in real time. I'm going to eliminate The Favorite, even though that is probably my favorite movie on this list, as far as just the award and general populace, like putting those two together of like, yes, you could rewatch The Favorite whenever you want. I'm torn between Black Panther and Black Klansman, and I think what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna give it to Black Panther.
All right.
I think that I feel like Black Panther crawled so that Everything Everywhere All at Once could run. Like, that's and I know they're not in the same genre, but Everything Everywhere, that movie is weird. It is a martial arts film, underneath a family drama about relationships and things like that. But like, you got multiverse travel, you've got time, you've got all kinds of weird shit going on in that movie. The fact that it even made it that far is incredible. But I don't think you would have the ability for that movie to be so effective and have the longevity that it does if you didn't have something like Black Panther being recognized in a category that most Academy members don't even want to watch. Like, they approach all superhero films, with their arm's length, which fine. It's fine. It's a very specific genre, and Black Panther isn't necessarily doing anything new at its brass tacks as far as like, it's very much a superhero film. It follows the MCU formula. It's got all of that baked in there, but I think there's enough Coogler touch in there, and I think there's enough Coogler ability in how he directs, and I think rest in peace Chadwick Boseman, but he's just phenomenal in this role. Everybody is great. It's fun, it's funny, it's got heart, it's everything you would want from a superhero film, and then you add on this incredible cultural impact that it's had on just the culture overall. I think if you want to be remembered in film for the year of the 91st Academy Awards and 2018, 2019. If you want to be remembered, if you want to look back and people ask what movie defined that time, I think Black Panther is the film that captures it all. It tells where we are as a culture in that moment, and then it's shadowed by Green Book, which tells you we still have a lot of work to do. But yeah, I'm going to give the award to Black Panther.
This is a very fascinating part of the conversation. I know we're wrapping up. I want to say one really quick thing about Roma, because I remember wanting Roma to win. And one of the reasons I was really excited about Roma and its Oscar potential is because this was at a time when Netflix was on an upswing on trying to be more relevant in the award space. And I was rooting for that at that time, right? Like, I was like, yeah, Netflix, like, we love the streaming service, we love the convenience, and we love that you're putting out quality content, and it's nice to see that you're starting to get recognized for that. And so I was really behind Roma for that reason, on top of the fact that I really enjoyed it. And it's funny because now I think about it, and I went to TIFF and watched Hitman, and then was immediately upset that Netflix picked up Hitman.
I'll take it a step further. I actually hate every acquisition that they got. I hate all of them, because now I know they're not going to be in theaters. Like,
exactly, right? Like,
Women of the Hour, Hitman. I think there were like 2 or 3 others that they got where I was like, No.
I just wanted to, I was just thinking about how ironic it is that I guess what was this 5 years ago, I'm rooting for Netflix to get Oscar content, and now they are, and I'm like, no.
Yeah. We see it this year too. I mean,
Yeah.
just to your point, not to drag it on too long.
Yeah, no, you're good.
This year there are so many Maestro, The Killer. These are movies that May December. Like these are all movies that yes, I know you have your qualifying 2-week run in NYC and LA, and it's like, sure, I technically live in Los Angeles, but like I live 40, 50 miles away, which is, you know, on any given day, that's a 2-hour drive. Like you think it shouldn't be, but when you live here, getting out to the one theater that's playing the only movie for 2 weeks max, and then it is gone, and then you have to wait till you see it at home. It's not easy. It's really hard to see these movies. And I think about something like The Killer, where like how that it doesn't translate on Netflix. It just doesn't. It doesn't. Like the comedy, the absurdity, the cinematography, the entire aesthetic of the film, everything about it does not translate at home. Fair Play is a great example where that movie rips in the theater. It absolutely rips in the theater. And I've watched it twice at home, and don't get me wrong, it's great. But I know what the theatrical experience was like. So, you know, and I could, and not even just Netflix, I could say the same thing about The Burial. Like The Burial is a blast in the theater. Like it has cheer-worthy moments, and you want to be wrapped into that. No, you're watching it Prime at home, half watching it while you're playing games on your phone, and it's such a disservice to these great movies. So yeah, it is very funny that I would agree with you. Going back to like the 91st Academy Awards, I'd be rooting for streaming services to be like, yes, let us see your movies. Like that's always my mantra. And now I'm like, Netflix, let people see your movies in theaters. So come on, what are we doing here?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I get, there was just a whole thought process that was going through my head with that, because when you mentioned Black Panther and the cultural relevance there, like I think you're so right about that. I think that there is a new precedent set when Black Panther got nominated for Best Picture, and I absolutely agree that it's really set the stage for allowing other maybe non-traditional Oscar nominees to not only get nominated but to win. And I think that the theatrical experience has a lot to do with that. Everything Everywhere is a fantastic theatrical experience. And yeah, I'll avoid another story. We're wrapping up.
We're just gonna rename this Story Time with Thomas. That's what we're gonna do.
There's a, you know what, we'll do like clips on short form. Story Time with Thomas, a Snubbed exclusive, you know.
I love it.
But yeah, so I think with my current disdain for Netflix picking up theatrically optimized films, and your very valid points about Black Panther and the precedent that it set at the Oscars, I think that we can draw a consensus on maybe Black Panther being our Best Picture winner.
Wow. All right. Look at that. Well, Black Panther, you did it. You did it. You won. You won the 91st Academy Awards. Congratulations. We are so proud to give this award to you. You deserve it. Green Book can kick rocks.
Absolutely. I love it. All right, we're wrapping up, I swear. Thank you everyone for joining us here. We're gonna hopefully get this on a regular cadence. We're looking at monthly right now, but yeah, just keep an eye out for it. And of course, find our content at NerdBot and at ForReel. And until next time, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. This is weird. Is this a good sign off? What's
Whatever.
the best way? See y'all.